Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel CCUK Resin, and I hope you're all doing okay. So you may remember we had both the Petras on the live recently, and they set me a bit of a bloom challenge, and I love blooms and I love challenges. So that's what this one's going to be. I'm going to try and do, the rules were simple. We had to use 4 different colors, so white, red, blue and green. And that was it. They're the rules. So, and it had to be a bloom or a coaster of some sort. So I wanted to go a little bit all out there and try something I haven't done before, because that's what this channel is all about. So I'm going to try this in 3 separate layers in 2 different ways, and do 6 coasters and also a giant one to see what happens. And it could be a giant coaster, so I don't think that's bending the rules. So I'm just going to mix up some resin. I'm going to be using the Apex 1 Coat Fast Cure resin because it cures in 2.5 hours normally. Now, I will say the temperatures in the UK are very hot at the minute, and I had my first flash cure the other day. So I don't know if it's wise to use the fast cure when it's this hot, but we're going to try it. So I've worked out this is roughly 24 ounces, this tray mold. These are roughly 3 ounces, these standard coaster molds. So what I'm going to try and do for that first layer is enough for 8 ounces here and 1 for each of these. So I'm going to mix up 15 ounces of resin, or roughly 450 mil for those of you that prefer milliliters. And then we're going to come back. The colors that I've picked, so I'm going to use the Supreme White for my white. I'm going to be using my favorite blue, which is a metallic blue pigment paste from Temu. And my favorite red, which is Candy Apple Blossom from Laura's Art Corner. And then for the greens, I'm going to use a combination of Lacewing from Creating Bloom and Sherwood from Creating Bloom. So fingers crossed, I'm going to go get gloved up, get the respirator on, get the resin mixed up, and then we're going to get straight into it. So we're back, and I've mixed up the resin. And look at that, beautiful stuff. And don't forget, if you want any of this Apex resin, get over to apexresin.co.uk, use the discount code, get yourself some money off. Now, I'm going to watch this like a hawk because of that flash cure I had the other night. We're already at 30 degrees, and it's just literally been mixed for 4 minutes. And look at this going already. So I don't want it to heat up too much more before I get working with it, because otherwise we could have another dreaded flash cure, which I don't want. So, and I hope you're liking the space, bit cleaner than usual. So I'm going to wait for this to get about 31, which should be any second now, the way it's heating up. And then we're going to go for it. So this first layer I want to do with white and one of those colors, which I'm going to do, I think, the Candy Apple Blossom Red first in this first layer. And I deliberately don't want to go all the way out. I only want to keep it in a section, because the plan is here to do another layer after with that blue, and then the final layer with the green, and we'll see what happens. Whether it works, I don't know. I've never done layered blooms before, so it's going to be interesting. So this is that Candy Apple Blossom Red from Laura's Art Corner. And again, if you want a discount code for that, use mine, CCUK, and get yourself some money off. So all I'm going to do is get 2 scoops into one of these cups. In fact, I think 1 might be enough, you know. Let's go 1.5. Let's meet it in the middle, because it is quite a heavy pigment. It's beautiful, but it is a little bit heavier than your standard micas. So let's just go with 1 and a bit. I think that's the official term. And look at this. It's beautiful, guys. It's one of my favorite reds at the minute. So, and then I can move that out of the way and check my temperature. So that is saying 30 at the minute, and about 30 all the way through, actually. So it's going up at a reasonably steady rate. So that's that. And then I'm going to be using the Supreme White, just because for me, it turns out really gorgeous in a bloom for the second color, for this first layer anyway. And all you need to do is literally stir it around. Whatever's left on your stick is what you're going to use. And then the rest is going to be pretty straightforward. It's going to be pouring it, hopefully splitting it reasonably evenly into these molds just for that first layer, hopefully a third full. Whether it works or not, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I'm hoping it is going to, though. We're okay. It's not getting too hot yet. So we're at 31. I think I'm good to go with starting to mix up these colours. And it's probably been 10 minutes, if that. And normally I would wait at least 20 minutes, but I do want a full cup of these colours as well, almost. Because I want to make sure there's going to be enough to do all of these. And I'm doing 6 coasters, hopefully, and that giant tray. So there's those. Come on. Now I'm still going to leave this in the pot. I don't mind it heating up a tiny bit more because it's not quite at the temperature I want it at. And that will have just cooled it down a little bit. In fact, no, it hasn't. Look at that, 31.7. I always say with a fast cure as well, you're better off going slightly earlier with your bloom. I just find it works better. So I'm going to wait for about 33 degrees on that. And then we're going to pour. So this is that supreme white. And as you can see, it's a supreme white. So just wiping off whatever's on my stick, and whatever's left on my stick should be enough, hopefully, to just pigment this the way I want without it being too opaque. So again, just going to stir that around. And good news is so far, it's not looking like we're having a flash cure. And I genuinely think it's the heat in the UK at the minute. I've never poured in these temperatures before. So again, to those of you in countries where it's like this all the time, I share your pain at the minute. And if you missed that, go back and watch my Froggy Friday live from the other night where we had a flash cure live. So if you've never seen a flash cure before, have a look. It's really interesting. So go back and watch it. And I don't think I panicked too much. So if anything, I think that's about right. I don't want it too opaque here because the risk is if it's too opaque, it won't work. Now, the only other thing I'm going to do is wipe off the excess pigment off the stick. And I'm going to give this 1 spray of alcohol as well, just because I find it just makes it spread a little bit better, I think, with your blooms. And I am conscious of time now. Where are we? So that's up to 33. That's bang on. So I'm just going to stir that alcohol in like so. And then we should be good to go with the white. So that is now going to go into this bag. Straight in there, ready to pipe. Beautiful. And now before I mix that Candy Apple Blossom Red, I'm just conscious at the minute that my resin's up to temperature. So I'm going to pour that in first. And I'm going to try and get these about 1/3 full. And I have re-leveled my surface, guys. So hopefully it's going to be reasonably level. And again, I am just eyeballing this, so I don't know if we're going to get it perfect or not, but I want them roughly to be 1/3 full, each of these coasters, and the giant tray. And again, shout out to both the Petras. They're amazing artists, and I really appreciate them, A, coming on the live, and B, setting this challenge for me. You know, I love a good challenge, and that's what this is all about. It's all about community. It's all about having fun together and seeing what we can create. Now, I think they look reasonably even for now. So let's hope I've got enough left to create a layer in this giant one. And again, I don't want it to be too thick. I just want it to hopefully cover that surface and give us a thin layer, which will hopefully make this mold about 1/3 full. Alexa, stop. Does anybody else use your Alexa for the timers? So keeps you on track. I know I do. But there we go. And that was because I originally set her for a timer of 10 minutes whilst my resin heated up, but I'm glad I kept an eye on it because it was clearly a lot quicker than that. So I'm just going to move this around to the edge as well in this mold so I can make sure that it goes all the way to the edge. Hopefully it's going to self-level out for a couple of minutes and hopefully it'll be about 1/3 full, because you do want enough to make sure your blooms can actually bloom. And I don't know if I have done enough at this point. And don't worry about the bubbles at this stage. With this resin, it is an amazing resin. And I promise you, they will all come out. So, now let's get on to mixing that red whilst this all settles, does its thing. Allow some of those bubbles to just come to the surface. And then I'm going to go around the edges like I normally do. So, let's get my lid on my white. And let's get on with this Candy Apple Blossom Red. And hope you're ready to see why it's one of my favourite reds. So again, just going to mix it round. And it reminds me of sort of a chrome metallic effect. And it is absolutely beautiful. Look at that. It's a stunning red. And that's why I wanted to use that in this piece. So here we go. Again, make sure you mix it all the way around, especially if you've done it the way I have and added the resin on top of the powder, just to make sure you don't get any of those powder bursts. And there we go. Happy with that. So that'll be my red. And this is all I'm going to put in this first layer. And then the next layer, I'm hoping to duplicate the process with that blue. And then the final layer, we're going to be doing the greens. And hopefully creating a bit of a leaf effect, if it works. And it's a big if at this stage because, again, I've never even done a layered bloom before, so it's a first. So now I'm just going to torch the surface, get rid of any of these surface bubbles, and see if there's any major ones that I can see. I don't think there will be. Again, when you're using a torch, try not to get too close to your edge, because that's where you get problems. So now I'm just having a look and I'm hoping I've got a tiny drop left. I have, just to go in there, because it looks a tiny bit short in this mold. And again, this is all guesswork. I'm hoping that this is going to work, but as we all know with resin, there are no guarantees. So if there's any major bubbles at this point on the base, I'm just going to go around the edges first, like so. And that should loosen any bubbles that you get attaching to those corners. And for the sake of a couple of seconds, it's well worth doing, guys. And it detaches them from those right angle corners, which is where they like to gather. And then the same with this one, just going all the way around the edge, like so. And then any major ones that I can see, I'm just going to pull them up to the surface and then we're going to get them with the torch again. But I'm not overly concerned because, as I say, this resin is beautiful at degassing. But anything you can do to help prevent, I think prevention is always better than waiting till it's happened. There we go. Happy with that. And one last torch. And then I think we're ready to go. And I'm going to go in with the white first, I think, with this. And I'm just praying that this is going to work because it's a lot of resin and it's a big challenge. And I want it to work, not just for me, but for you guys. So this is that beautiful white. I can feel it's warming up a little bit already. Now, I want to do slightly thinner than I normally would and almost get more layers in. So if you can see there, normally I go halfway. I'm going to try and go about a third of the way in here for this white. Here we go. Beautiful. And I'm only going to want to go 2/3 of the way out. So I'm going to start, I think, with the big one. Are you ready? And it's beautifully dripping. Oops, and I didn't want that to happen. But we're still going to persist. And I'm going to see if I can sort that out after. Whoops, I wasn't paying attention. And look what's happened. Hopefully we'll still be okay. Hopefully we'll still get a beautiful bloom. I'm just a little bit concerned, but it is what it is. Once you've started, You can't stop. And that's that. So that's how far I'm planning to go out. Let's go for one of these as well. And doing exactly the same. Shouldn't really need to be applying any pressure. It should want to just drip out of the bag. Happy with that one. And any particularly heavy bits, I'm going to just try and pull through with my silicone tool. And it's been a while since I used these molds, actually. Hopefully it's going to work. Fingers crossed, guys. But I suppose this just goes to show it doesn't have to be perfect. Hopefully. He says, hoping it's going to work. Right, in the center and around. And let me know in comments, are you liking my content or not? You know, and if you are, please, please, please like and subscribe to the channel. It does make a huge difference. Here we go. And I still think we're going to get a pretty cool result with these blooms, even though I made that mistake. And don't forget, this is just that first layer. That's it. So any heavy bits, first thing I want to do is just pull them through a little bit. Like so. Again, I don't know what went off here. But I still think we'll get the effect that we want. Again, it's these centers that mainly seem to be a bit heavier than the rest. So I'm just pulling them round. Hopefully avoiding that dreaded B word that we all hate. And we'll see. And your petals don't have to all look uniformed, you know? Because in nature, you look at a flower and you tell me how many of those petals look identical. Not many. Again, just pulling it through where I think it's a little bit heavier. And we'll see what happens. I don't know what I did with this one, but it seems pretty heavy in that center. I'm just going to move it around. And I think we should be all right with that. But I don't know at this point. So that's my white. Now I'm going to go in with my red. Here we go. And again, I'm probably going to want to go just on the outskirts of this. And look at this. This is how thin this is, guys. Clearly, I've not used enough resin. I do want to try and fix that. Because I don't want anything to risk this not working. So I've got a tiny bit left in the cup. Let's just put it in. There's no point wasting it anyway. And as I say, it's probably because I eyeballed it. And I've probably mixed up far too much of these colours. And what I should have done is just put it in here. But I think it'll be okay. Just going to torch that. Get rid of those surface bubbles. Right, back to the red. Here we go. And again, I'm just going to take a small snip off. There we go, beautiful. And then look at the white, it's already blooming, so that's good. And again, same, starting in the center and going around. And I don't actually mind if this overlaps because I think you get quite a cool effect when that happens. And hopefully this will also bloom for this first layer. And as you can see, as I'm going out, I'm trying to keep it in between the two where I can. Beautiful colour though, this. I absolutely love it. And then I'm just going to do one more around that edge. Again, trying not to go all the way to the edge. Beautiful. And then the same with these. There we go. So that's that part. Next, I'm going to just draw in these petals and let it do its thing. Now, this one isn't blooming as much, and I think it's because it's cooled down quicker than these. So let's just go for it. And I'm just going to do the standard technique that we always do and pull it in like so. Like so. Like so. Like so. And again, you're just skimming the surface, guys. You don't need to touch the base of your mold or anything like that. It's just literally skimming that surface. And you know what? I might go again for this particular layer. Because I don't mind having slightly thinner petals on this layer. I say petals, it's all providing they bloom. I think this is the last one. There we go. And then a tiny little swirl in that center. And I think that'll look pretty cool, providing it blooms. And then the same with all of these. And a little swirl. There we go. So they're blooming lovely at the minute. And what I'm going to do is just torch them very briefly. And then we're going to leave them and come back in 2.5 hours and see what we've got. So I'll see you then. Right, here we go, guys, and we're ready for layer 2, and it's only been 1.5 hours, and that is the great thing about this fast cure resin from Apex. It's brilliant stuff, so don't forget, if you want some of that, get yourself over there, use the discount code CCUK. And I think it's partially because of the heat in the UK at the minute, so I'm just going to check. I've mixed up exactly the same amount of resin, and it's already at 31 degrees, so we're going to have to get a move on here again, guys, because it's so warm, I don't want to risk this flash curing. And this is going to be that blue layer to incorporate blue for the challenge. And I'm going to be using metallic blue. I'm going to be using the same white as well. But I'm going to add something to it for this layer, and you'll see in a second. And I did notice that basically, I think I overfilled these. So these are almost halfway full, which is possibly why I didn't get enough resin in that tray. But again, it's one of those things. When you experiment, these things happen. So if you can see, perfect bloom around the edge, and then it didn't quite pull in because I don't think there was enough pigment in there or enough resin. But I still think we're going to get a pretty piece. So I'm not too upset. So I'm just going to do exactly the same. Just going to check the temperature on this resin now. 31 degrees. 30 degrees, we're okay to go. So I'm going to mix up these colors. I'm not too stressed about the temperature just yet. That's coming, trust me. So first thing I'm going to do, as before, is that white. And again, I'm going to use the Supreme White, but I'm going to add something to it this time. So just going around with my cocktail stick, wiping off whatever's there. And whatever's left on the stick should be enough to color my white. So this is going to be my white. And again, just mixing it around, making sure it's thoroughly mixed and that pigment is coming off into that resin and creating a nice, beautiful white color. And then, as I say, we are going to add something to this, just because I love doing it when I do my blues. So, and all it is, I've got some iridescent blue powder, but there we go. That is beautiful. I think that'll be enough. So I'm just going to wipe off my stick. So I'm not adding any more of the white pigment. And then we're going to add, hopefully, a scoop of this blue iridescent powder that I got from Temu. So here we go. I think literally a scoop should be enough. A heaped scoop in there, because I don't want too much. I just want enough to make sure that it slightly adds that iridescent effect. And then I'm going to stir it around again. And then that should be the white ready. Here we go. So that's that beautiful iridescent blue powder. Again, you want to mix it through, especially when you're using a fast cure resin, because you want to make sure it's thoroughly mixed and you don't get any of those pocket clouds of mica. And it can be especially prevalent when you use these iridescent powders, I've found. So just make sure you're mixing it all the way through your resin and you shouldn't get any of those pocket clouds. But look at that. Beautiful. And essentially that is going to be our white. Again, straight into that cup. Well, into the piping bag that I've got ready at the side. And let me know, do you think this is going to work? Or do you think I'm going to have a disaster on my hands? That's the question. Now I'm just going to check the temperature again. 32. We're still okay. I want it to get to 33. So I'm going to mix that blue. So metallic blue pigment paste, got it from Temu. One of the first purchases I made, but I absolutely love it. Look at it. I've used it in waves, I've used it in coasters, I've used it in all sorts, to be honest. But again, just stirring it around, whatever's left on will certainly be enough for this. And then we're going to mix it round. And you'll see in a second, once it starts intermixing with that resin, we get a beautiful blue, metallic, shimmery paste. Now I've used this in blooms before and it created some amazing results. So hopefully it will this time. But as we all know, resin does what resin wants, and there's no guarantees with resin, but that's what makes it fun. Every piece, you don't know if it's going to work until you demold, and it's no different for me. It's no different for any resin artist that's been doing it for years. You know, we're the same as you beginners in some ways, that we don't know what's going to happen until we demold. In some ways, we just pray to the resin gods that it's going to work. And it's as simple as that. Some of your pieces will work. Some, unfortunately, and you're not going to like this, but some won't. But it's all part of the fun of the art form, which we all love, which is resin. So now, pretty confident temperature-wise we're there. So now I'm just going to pour in this second layer. And there will be a third layer. And the great thing with this fast cure resin is basically it means I should be able to get all three of these layers done in one day. So again, just trying not to be as thick with this layer on the coasters, because I think I overdid it last time on these. And that didn't leave me enough to go in to the tray. So again, just letting it do its thing. Pouring it into the middle, and hopefully just enough for that second layer. Beautiful. And then in we go on this one. And hopefully I've got enough this time to create a bit more of a layer for these blue petals. Dunno. But as you can see, it's all experimental on this channel. It's all about learning together and seeing what we can create. Some of our pieces work, some don't. But again, that's just part of the fun for me. And I think that is pretty much there for layer number 2. And I've definitely got a bit more of a layer on this one, which is good. Adding a little tiny bit more. And then I'm just eyeballing it to make sure I've got enough for that third layer, which is yet to come. And I think I have, so that's good. Anything left, I'm just going to split between these. And then we should be good to go for layer number 2. Hopefully. So again, just going to let it all settle for a second. Always scrape your cup You don't want to be wasting any resin that you've just poured and mixed. It's better in your piece than in your cup. That's what I say. And then I'm just going to leave that for a second. Go around the edge again. Just with my silicone tool, trying to make sure that any bubbles that are attached to that edge come out. And then the same with the coasters. And as you can see, it's definitely a thinner layer in the coasters this time, but hopefully it'll be enough to just create a thin layer for layer number 2. And as I say, let me know in comments if you think this is going to work. I value every subscriber, every comment on this channel. It means so much. So I think we're about there. I'm just going to torch the surface, get any of those surface bubbles off. Again, try not to go too close to your edge. That's when you have problems if you're using a torch, or some people use alcohol and that works really well as well. So there we go. And what I didn't add this time to my white was the alcohol. I nearly forgot. So I'm just going to, in fact, no, I'm not. I'm going to leave it as it is this time and see what happens. Didn't create much of a spread on that one anyway. So I think I'm going to do the same again. I want the white to be the, in fact, no, I'm going to go blue first. No, I'm not. I'm going to do white. This is how much I changed my mind. And this is how experimental a process it is, guys. You know, you're just playing, making it up as I go along to a certain extent. So that's my piping bag. Squeeze it down, give it a twist, and that should be ready to go. And I'm going to get the blue ready as well so that they're both ready to go. And again, I want to go a tiny bit further out, but not much further out, because I want to leave space for that third layer, which is yet to come, which will be those beautiful greens, because I am going to be incorporating green in this piece as well. They were the rules: red, blue, and white and green. So I think I am going to go white first. So let's go with the white first. Again, snipping it. I want to get a little bit more white, especially into this time. So let's see what we get. Are we ready? Let's get piping. Right, beautiful. It's coming out lovely. And what I'm going to do is start in the center again and just pipe it all the way around. And this time I'm deliberately putting a little bit more in, especially into this tray, because I want to give it the best chance of properly blooming. And I know I'm not perfectly central. Hopefully the way I'm doing this piece, it shouldn't matter too much in the end piece. And I'm just going to go up to the edge of where these red petals are. There. Happy with that? Now I'm just going to sort it out and do the same, hopefully, for these 6 coasters. I've still got a tiny bit left. Let's just do one more little row just around here. Didn't want that to happen. Shouldn't ever do this, guys. It's just me trying to utilize all of that last bit of the resin. There we go. That's my white. Again, any bits that look a little bit heavy, now's your time to just pull them through a little bit. There we go. That's that. I need to get on with the blue now. And again, I'm going to try and put a decent amount in here to give it the best chance to bloom. And that is coming out beautifully. So here we go, starting in the center again. Are we ready? Let's do this. And again, I want it to be reasonably even. Just going around in between where I've put that white. And I'm just hoping that this is going to work. You do get a little bit dizzy when you do this, guys. Just hoping we're going to get a beautiful bloom effect. We're going to find out tomorrow. Well, in fact, today, to be fair. The beauty of a fast cure is the fact that this, in 2.5 hours, will be ready to demold. Got to be careful here because I'm running out. Right. Now for these. I'll spiral it round. And again, like before, we're just going to draw in the pieces. Now, I'm not too fussed about this one blobbing because the way it's spread, I don't think it will. Could be proved wrong, but let's draw in those petals anyway, and let's find out. Now, last time I went perfectly central. I'm going to try and do this slightly differently. Like so. Just because I think it'll make the petals look better. If they're slightly overlapping. Let me know. What do you think is going to happen? Where did I go there? And I want these ones to be bigger petals because we did the shorter petals last time. I actually think these will look great as slightly bigger petals. And again, I don't know if I've put enough in there or not, but what I'm going to do with these ones is also pull them out a little bit, like so. And see if that creates a slightly different effect. Should do. For these petals. So we'll have the rounder ones at the front, hopefully. And these ones that have been pulled through coming up behind it. I don't know. Hope it's going to work. There we go. Beautiful. So that's that. Now for these, exactly the same process. Pulling it in. There we go. So that is all of those petals in. Now I'm just going to give it a quick torch and then we're going to leave them for 2.5 hours, maybe 2 because of the heat, and then come back and do the final layer, which will be a layer of greens. So I hope you're enjoying it and I'll see you guys in a couple of hours. So here we go, guys. It's only been 1.5 hours. That's cured beautifully already. And we're going for what is hopefully going to be the final layer, but I want to make this a bit special. This is where we're going to incorporate the green. So I've got 5 different elements to this, so hopefully it's going to work. I don't know at this point. So the first 2 bits I'm going to put in the pot is a beautiful mica. So I've got a dark green mica from Resin and a tiny bit of gold. Now, I know that wasn't in the rules, but I just want a tiny little bit of gold going in as well. Just because I think gold naturally brings out the beauty of the green. And literally, when I say a tiny bit, I promise you, it's not going to be the feature. The main feature is going to be these beautiful greens. So I'm just pouring the mica into these pots, and then we're going to get on with the other 3 greens. Now, I'm not waiting the 5 minutes for this to heat up or anything because I don't think we're going to need a blooming effect for this. It's just going to be, hopefully, a bit of a crazy background is the plan. So, got the micas in these 2 pots like this. And now I'm just going to pour resin into these 5 pots that I've got pre-ready. There we go. And I've got a little bit of unkilled resin on the side, so it means I'm going to have to clean this beautifully clean silicone mat in a minute, but there we go. Never mind. So I want to fill these pretty much, and you'll see what we're going to do with them in a minute. And hopefully it's going to create a beautiful back, and hopefully these layered blooms have worked, because I've never tried them before. So again, not as much gold, more of the other colours. And then for these ones that I've just got clear resin in, I'm going to be using some pigments, pigment paste from Create and Bloom. And a special one as well, so hopefully it's going to work. So, I made this chameleon pigment tiny turner paste not long ago. I want to try some of that in this, first of all. And it's going to need quite a bit, I think, in order to get that beautiful tiny turner powders shimmer coming through the whole thing. So I'm just giving it a quick stir, and you'll see what I mean. Look at this. Beautiful. Very, very expensive pigment paste, this, because it's mainly made with those beautiful tiny turner pigments. Look at that. Who says green can't be beautiful? Look at that. Oh, I want this to be kind of the starring piece. So I'm just going to put some of this into the resin. Quite a bit, because I don't want to scrimp. I want this to look absolutely stunning. And really show off what you can do with different greens. So here we go. So that's that pigment paste, and that's really concentrated. Well, I say really concentrated. It's a full pot, so 0.5 gram of those tiny Turner Chameleon pigment powders. Look at them. Beautiful. I'm just stirring it around, making sure it's thoroughly mixed. And guess what? We've not had a flash cure, even in the heat, so we're doing well. And just look at that. It's like a galaxy. It's still semi-transparent though, so that's okay. I'm only wanting it to add a bit of an effect to the rest of these. So this is that green mica from Let's Resin. Again, mixing it around, hopefully getting it all mixed in. And you'll see it starts to come through. There we go. So beautiful green mica, this one. And I don't know if we'll get a different effect by mixing the different micas or not. We're going to find out. So again, that's a beautiful dark green almost mica. Beautiful. And I could put more in this, but I'm not going to, because these are all going to intermix and hopefully create almost a camouflagey type effect. We will see. And this is probably about half that resin. And I've still got half clear. So this is that gold. And again, I don't want too much gold because it will take over, and I want this to be predominantly green. I just want a couple of shimmers of this gold going through the piece. Again, really nice, rich, bright yellow gold, this one. And again, that's a mica. Look at it. Now let me know. Do you think this is going to work, or do you think I'm going to ruin these blooms? Who knows? So that's that beautiful, rich yellow gold. And then for the pigment pastes, I've got Lacewing, which is almost a grassy green from Create and Bloom. And I've got Sherwood, which is a deep dark green. So we'll go with the Sherwood first. And again, same as always, just stir your cocktail stick around. Whatever's left on your stick will certainly be enough. There we go. Yeah, and just stirring it around, making sure it's thoroughly mixed. And then we've got one more colour to go, which will be that beautiful Lacewing. So there we go, that's that Sherwood. And you can't say I'm not using greens in these, I'm using quite a few greens. So I just hope we get the effect I want on this, and you never know. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and sometimes your backings ruin your blooms. So it's always a bit of a daunting time. And this is that lacewing, which is almost a grassy green. And that is going to go in this one. So they are our 5 different colours, he says, when it mixes. And this should be the last layer, which is just going to create a back. Look at that beautiful grassy green. But I think it adds to it when you add it with a darker green as well, this lacewing. So, what am I going to do now? I'm going to show you. So first of all, I'm going to torch off any of these excess bubbles. And then I've got the other half of the resin still in the cup. And all I'm going to do is add these in willy-nilly, like that. 1. And 2. And then I'm going to give it a tiny bit of a stir at this stage. Not too much, but just a little bit. Then the pigment paste, so that's that lacewing. The Sherwood. As you can see, it's kind of dropping down, which is great. And then I don't want to go overboard, but I do want a tiny bit of the gold in. And then all I'm going to do is swill it round a few times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to try and not disturb the top too much, but I want it to be, look at that, beautiful. And I think that should create a really cool effect. I could be wrong. I've not tried it on some of this scale before. I've only done it on a frog before, so we will see. So we've got all of those different greens now, and now we're just going to pour. Just enough to create a beautiful back, hopefully, with some different shades of green going all the way to the edge. And if it's slightly domes, it's slightly domes. I just hope it's going to create some kind of effect which will really finish this piece off. There we go. Leaving that. And now making sure I've got enough, hopefully, just for a thin back on each of these coasters. With this green concoction that we've just made. And it is still slightly transparent, which is fine. They don't have to be that dark, your backs. Now it's getting more transparent actually as I go. And that is because there was more clear at the bottom. So I'm still slightly short. So what I'm going to do is we're going to have 2 with a slightly different back, which is just the rest of these drips out of these cups going in. But that looks beautiful to me. I don't know about you. But let's scrape the rest of these straight into this pot with the rest of that resin, and hopefully it'll be enough to just finish these backings off. And you don't want to waste your resin anyway, guys, so it's a great way to use it all up. You see, I've still got a couple of ounces probably in these cups that I haven't just poured out. Here we go. And there's still a tiny bit of the clear in there, so it should still give us a similar effect, if not the same. But let me know if you're liking the content. Do me a favor as well. If you want to keep seeing projects like this, it takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of money. Just do me a favor and like and subscribe to the channel. You know, it's the great way to support us, and it shows me that you're liking the stuff I'm doing. And if you can, we've also got memberships open as well, so feel free to join that. And if you join in July, so you've still got a few days when this video goes live, everybody who's a member in July will win a piece of my art wherever they are in the world. Completely free, shipped to you as a thank you for becoming a member and supporting the channel. So again, I'm just going to swirl this around a little bit, not too much. There we go, so all into mixers. And then we're just going to pour these, hopefully these last two. And I hope there's enough in there. Beautiful. There we go. That should be just enough. And they're not all going to be exactly the same size, but that's okay. Doesn't really bother me with these coasters because they're quite thick anyway. And I'm just pouring the final drips in now in the center, and we're going to see what we get, you know? I can still just about see the shape of that bloom in the back on the front as well, which is really cool. So let me know, do you think this is going to work? Do you think we're going to have a cool effect, or do you think I'm going to have a disaster? Time will tell, and in fact, in about 2.5 hours, these should be cured enough to demold. And I'm just praying that those blooms worked. Right, and here we go, guys, ready for demold. And I don't mind admitting I'm excited about this. I'm just hoping that they've turned out half as good as I'd pictured them in my mind. So I think we might as well start with what this was all about, which was coasters. So let's demold these. And again, it's only been 2 hours. So if you haven't got any, get yourself some of this fast cure resin from Apex, apexresin.co.uk, and use my discount code CCUK to get yourself some money off. Amazing stuff. And this, with it being 3 layers, would have taken 3 days previously, but I've managed to get it all done in 1 day. So hopefully the results will be worth it. So let's demold these. And I'm going to put them face down first because I don't want to see them yet. Do you want to demold them? And then we're going to see them one at a time. Who is excited? You know, and all of those beautiful colors are in there. So hopefully we'll get some great results. And don't forget, I'll link the playlist in the description for everybody else that has got involved in this collaboration, which was basically just because of one of the lives where the 2 Petras are on and we got to know them a little bit better. And they challenged me to do a bloom challenge, and I love doing blooms, so I thought, why not? So make sure you watch all of those videos. Some amazing artists will be collaborating. Where do we start? That one. Oh, there's too many to choose. I'm going to start off this one, I think. Good thickness for a coaster. Oh, wow. Look at that. It's definitely a bloom. I can definitely see, I actually quite like the transparentness of the green as well. It's not too much. I can see the red, I can see the blue, and I can see the white and the green. So I think they've been a success. Let's have a look at the rest first. Wow. Again, look at that one with the different petals coming out. Again, absolutely love that. So I think these have turned out really, really cool. Wow. Again, just look at that one in the background there with that glisten coming off it as well from the iridescence. So they're quite pale, but do you know what? That's what I wanted. I didn't want them to be too bold. And look at that. Look at the differences in those petals from doing those 2. And this is only 2 layers. You could probably do more layers in these coasters. But I'm loving that 3D effect that you get as well. You can just see the different layers as well from the side. Beautiful. So far, so good. Oh, wow. Look at that. Absolutely stunning. Blues, as you can see. Red, white, and green. All going together beautifully. And I'm glad I didn't put a center in these, actually. I think these look better without one, so just want to get the resin off. And look at that. That is what you call a beautiful 3D bloom. Those beautiful colours. Now, who wants to see the tray? Or am I tempting fate? Let's see if that tray's worth it. But I think that one's my favourite, just because of those beautiful different shades glistening through those blues, reds, white, and green, which was the challenge. So let me know what you think in comments. And as a bonus, obviously, we did that tray. Again, really heavy piece. I love the transparency so that you can still see those bloom petals in the centre. And it's definitely filled to the top because there's no edge. So I'm not cutting my thumb right now, which is always good. And I'm just hoping that this looks half as pretty as those coasters. You know, they turned out amazing and I'm really happy with them. And if you're struggling with blooms, go back, watch some tutorials. I've got loads on my channel and I've also done the 2D blooms video if you're struggling with 3D blooms. So here we go. It's come out of the mold. Stage 1 complete. And can we have a drum roll? Look at this. Beautiful. I love that back. Oh, wow. That is different. You can see where it didn't quite bloom. You can see where it did bloom. But you know, it's very busy, but I still love that. Great little piece. Well, big piece. That would have been better if it was a bit more central. But overall, I'm quite happy with that, guys. Let me know what you think. And it's kind of all intermixing together. Still got a beautiful bloom-like effect on that tray. Is it my favourite one? Probably not. The coasters are. They're amazing. I've done better trays, though, I think. And the candy apple red, though, look at that. That really works in this bloom. And the blue. But yeah, let me know what you think. And I think part of the problem was, with this particular mould, it does very well round the edge, but it doesn't seem to pull into that centre. So I could try it again with some different normal curing resin and see if that makes a difference, but I don't think it would, but I love the effect still. So that's it. Let me know what you think in comments. I can't wait to see everybody's creations, what they've created with these amazing colours, reds, blues and whites. That was the only rule stipulated with green as well. But yeah, I'm really happy with those. So let me know what you think in comments and I'll see you on the next one.